Life is unpredictable. One moment, everything is going smoothly, and the next, you're hit with challenges that threaten to knock you off course. Whether it's a stressful situation at work, a disagreement with someone close to you, or a personal setback, it's easy to lose your calm. But what if you could train your mind to remain composed, no matter what life throws at you? As the famous author Ryan Holiday once said, "The only thing you can control is your reaction." This simple yet powerful truth is the foundation of everything we'll explore in this book. We often think we can control the world around us, but the reality is we can't. However, what we can control is how we respond, and the ability to stay calm, even in the most chaotic situations, is a skill anyone can learn if they're willing to put in the work. In this book, you'll learn how to master your mind, how to stay composed in moments of stress, and how to build a life where external chaos no longer determines your emotional state. Imagine being able to walk into any situation, whether it's a high-pressure meeting, a personal conflict, or a tough moment in your life, and feel completely in control. Not only will you handle it, but you'll do so with clarity, confidence, and peace. The techniques we'll cover aren't about ignoring your emotions or pretending everything is perfect. They're about learning to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. They're about building mental resilience so that when life gets hard, you don't lose your inner peace. Training your mind to stay calm in every situation isn't just about making your day-to-day easier. It's about transforming the way you experience life. It's about taking back your power so that you're no longer at the mercy of stress, frustration, or panic. You will gain the tools you need to navigate challenges with a steady, focused mind. This book will provide you with actionable, practical advice that you can use right now to start seeing a difference in how you handle stress. You'll learn how to create habits that build emotional strength, how to silence your inner critic, and how to take control of your thoughts when everything around you seems out of control. By the end of this journey, you will have developed a mindset that allows you to stay calm, confident, and focused, no matter what life throws your way. It's time to stop letting your circumstances dictate your emotions. It's time to train your mind to be calm in every situation and reclaim your peace. Chapter 1: What is real calmness and what it's not? Imagine you're standing in the middle of a storm. The wind howls, rain pours down, and trees bend under the force. But right at the center of it all, there's a space of stillness, a place where the wind slows, the noise fades, and everything is quiet. That's what real calmness feels like, not the absence of chaos, but the ability to remain steady within it. Most people think calmness means staying silent or showing no reaction, but that's not true. Staying calm isn't about pretending everything is fine when it's not. It's not about forcing yourself to smile when frustration is bubbling inside you. Real calmness isn't a mask, it's a skill. It's the ability to maintain control over your emotions, no matter what's happening around you. Many believe that calm people are simply born that way, as if some personalities are naturally peaceful while others are wired for stress. That's another misconception. No one is born with perfect calmness. It is something developed through awareness, practice, and self-control. Just like muscles grow stronger with exercise, the mind becomes more stable when it is trained to handle pressure. Think about the last time you were in a stressful situation. Maybe someone cut you off in traffic, or a coworker made a careless mistake that affected your work. Maybe someone's words hit a nerve, and you reacted before thinking. That reaction, whether it was anger, frustration, or anxiety, was not something you chose. It happened automatically. This is what most people experience daily: being pulled around by their emotions instead of controlling them. Real calmness doesn't mean ignoring emotions or pushing them down. It means understanding them and deciding how to handle them. Imagine holding a cup of hot coffee while walking through a crowded room. If someone bumps into you, the coffee spills. What's inside the cup is what comes out. If a person is filled with anger, stress, or frustration, then when life bumps them, that's what spills out. Calmness is about filling your mind with clarity and control so that no matter what happens, you don't spill over in ways you regret. People often confuse calmness with weakness, thinking that being calm means letting others take advantage of you. In reality, the calmest individuals are often the strongest. They don't need to raise their voice to prove a point. They don't react emotionally just to show they care. Their strength comes from the ability to remain composed while others lose control. They have trained themselves to respond rather than react. One of the biggest reasons people struggle to stay calm is that their minds are always racing. Overthinking, stress, and constant worry make it difficult to approach challenges with a level head. When the mind is cluttered, even small problems feel overwhelming. The key to developing calmness is learning to create mental space. A calm mind is not an empty mind. It is a mind that knows what to focus on and what to let go of. Another misconception is that calmness means having no emotions at all. Some assume that staying calm means not caring, but that's not true either. A calm person still feels everything: joy, anger, sadness, excitement, but they don't let emotions control their actions. It's like driving a car. If emotions take the wheel, the ride becomes unpredictable. But when calmness is in control, emotions take the passenger seat. They are still there, but they don't dictate the direction. Think about professional athletes in high-pressure situations. A basketball player stepping up for a game-winning free throw, a surgeon performing a life-saving operation, a firefighter entering a burning building. These people don't remain calm because the situation is easy. They remain calm because they've trained themselves to handle stress without letting it shake them. They have practiced staying composed under pressure so many times that it has become second nature. Training the mind to be calm works the same way. It starts with awareness. Recognizing when emotions are taking over is the first step. Most people don't realize they are losing control until after it happens. The moment of awareness is where change begins. Once you notice frustration or stress creeping in, you have a choice. You can let it take over, or you can pause, breathe, and respond with intention. Breathing is one of the most powerful tools for calmness. When stress hits, the body reacts, heart rate increases, breathing becomes shallow, muscles tense up. But the breath is the bridge between the body and the mind. Controlling the breath signals to the brain that there is no real danger, allowing the body to relax. A single deep breath in a moment of stress can be enough to reset your entire response. Another key to calmness is perspective. Many things that trigger stress are not as serious as they feel in the moment. A delayed flight, a difficult conversation, an unexpected problem at work. These things may seem overwhelming at the time, but in the bigger picture, they are just small moments in a long life. The ability to step back and see the bigger picture prevents unnecessary stress. There is also great power in pausing before reacting. People often regret words spoken in anger or decisions made in frustration. A short pause, even just a few seconds, can make the difference between a reckless reaction and a thoughtful response. Calmness gives you control over your actions rather than letting emotions dictate them. The journey to mastering calmness doesn't happen overnight. It takes patience and practice. Small, everyday situations provide the best training ground. Dealing with an annoying email, waiting in a long line, facing an unexpected inconvenience. These are all opportunities to practice calmness. The goal is to build a habit of staying composed in small moments so that when bigger challenges arise, calmness is already your default response. With time, the mind learns that it doesn't have to react to every small thing. Not everything requires an emotional response. The more you practice letting go of what doesn't matter, the more you gain control over what does. A calm mind is not one that never feels stress, but one that knows how to navigate it without being consumed by it. Real calmness is a kind of freedom. Freedom from being controlled by external circumstances. Freedom from reacting out of impulse. Freedom to choose how to respond to life's challenges with clarity and confidence. It is not about ignoring emotions or avoiding difficulties. It is about mastering the ability to remain steady no matter what happens. And that kind of calmness is something anyone can develop. It doesn't require special talent or a unique personality. It only requires the willingness to train the mind, one moment at a time, until calmness becomes second nature. Chapter 2. Why your brain overreacts and how to fix it. The mind is an incredible tool, but it doesn't always work in your favor. It processes millions of pieces of information every day, constantly scanning for threats, solving problems, and making decisions. But sometimes it reacts in ways that don't serve you. A small inconvenience feels like a disaster, a simple disagreement turns into an argument, and minor mistakes feel like personal failures. The brain, left untrained, exaggerates situations and makes them feel more intense than they actually are. This happens because the brain evolved for survival, not peace of mind. Long ago, humans faced real dangers: predators, food shortages, unpredictable environments. The mind developed a system to detect threats instantly. If there was a rustle in the bushes, the brain assumed it was a predator, triggering an immediate reaction. This instinct kept people alive. But in today's world, the same system still operates, even though the dangers have changed. Instead of wild animals, modern threats come in the form of emails, deadlines, social conflicts, and uncertainty. The brain still reacts as if survival is at stake, even when it's not. This is why stress and anxiety feel so overwhelming. The brain releases chemicals that prepare the body for danger. Heart rate increases, muscles tense, and breathing becomes shallow. This response was useful when escaping predators, but in everyday life, it leads to unnecessary worry, frustration, and emotional reactions that only make situations worse. The good news is that this automatic response can be rewired. The brain is adaptable. With training, it can learn to recognize real dangers from imagined ones and respond with clarity instead of panic. One of the biggest reasons the mind overreacts is because it jumps to conclusions. A single negative comment can feel like an attack. A moment of silence from someone can be misinterpreted as rejection. A minor mistake can seem like failure. The brain fills in the gaps, often assuming the worst. This habit comes from a desire to protect, but in reality, it causes unnecessary stress. Recognizing this pattern is the first step to breaking it. The next time frustration, anger, or anxiety rise quickly, notice what's happening. Instead of reacting immediately, pause and question whether the situation is truly as serious as it feels. More often than not, it isn't. The power to slow down thoughts before they spiral out of control changes everything. The mind is like a lens, and how it focuses determines the experience. If it zooms in on problems, those problems appear larger than they are. If it shifts focus to solutions, challenges become manageable. The ability to control this focus is what separates those who stay calm from those who constantly feel overwhelmed. Another reason the brain overreacts is because of past experiences. If a person has faced rejection, their mind might assume any silence means they're being ignored. If they've experienced failure, even small setbacks can trigger deep frustration. The brain stores memories and uses them as filters to interpret new situations. This is why some people react strongly to things that seem minor to others. They are not just reacting to the present moment, they are responding to the emotions attached to past experiences. But the past does not have to dictate the present. By becoming aware of these mental patterns, it becomes possible to separate old emotions from current reality. Thoughts and emotions work in cycles. A small worry can turn into a big problem if it is given too much attention. If the brain latches onto a negative thought and keeps replaying it, the body reacts with stress, and that stress feeds the thought, making it stronger. This loop can trap a person in a cycle of anxiety or frustration. The way to break free is to disrupt the pattern. The moment negative thoughts start to spiral, shifting attention to something else, whether it's deep breathing, movement, or a different perspective, prevents them from gaining momentum. Another important factor in retraining the brain is learning to differentiate between real problems and imagined ones. Many people spend time worrying about things that never actually happen. The mind creates scenarios, playing out worst-case situations as if preparing for disaster. But most of these imagined problems never materialize. The time and energy spent worrying could be used more effectively elsewhere. Focusing on what can be controlled instead of what can't reduces unnecessary stress. The ability to stay calm in any situation comes from recognizing that not everything requires an immediate emotional reaction. Some things are not worth the mental energy they consume. The brain will always try to sound the alarm, but not every alarm is an emergency. Learning to observe these mental reactions instead of getting caught up in them is a skill that brings a deep sense of peace. Training the mind to react calmly takes practice, but it is possible. Small daily moments provide opportunities to build this skill. A delayed response instead of an instant reaction, a deep breath instead of an outburst, a shift in focus instead of dwelling on the problem. These small changes create a stronger, more resilient mind over time. The brain may always have the instinct to overreact, but it does not have to be in control. With awareness and practice, calmness can become the default response to any challenge. Chapter 3. Control your breath. Control your mind. The way the mind responds to stress is deeply connected to the way the body functions. When pressure builds up, whether from a difficult conversation, an unexpected setback, or a demanding situation, the first thing that changes is the breath. It becomes quick, shallow, and uneven, sending signals to the brain that something is wrong. This reaction might not seem like a big deal, but it plays a crucial role in whether a person remains calm or feels overwhelmed. The breath is the bridge between the body and the mind, and learning to control it is one of the most powerful tools for staying steady in any situation. Most people don't pay much attention to how they breathe. It happens automatically, so it's easy to overlook. But the way a person breathes affects everything from heart rate to mental clarity. When breathing is fast and uncontrolled, stress levels rise. When it is slow and deep, the nervous system relaxes, creating a sense of stability. The body and mind are constantly communicating, and the breath is one of the strongest signals in that conversation. Taking charge of it means taking charge of emotions. Imagine standing at the edge of a high cliff. Even if there's no real danger, the body reacts as if there is. The heart pounds, the breath speeds up, and muscles tighten. This is the body's automatic response to fear. The same thing happens in stressful everyday situations, just on a smaller scale. An argument, an unexpected problem, or a moment of uncertainty can trigger the same physical reactions, making it hard to think clearly. The fastest way to regain control is to slow the breath. When breathing is steady, the body relaxes and the brain receives a signal that there is no real threat. This simple shift can turn chaos into clarity. The power of breath control isn't just theory, it's something that has been practiced for centuries. Ancient traditions, from martial arts to meditation, have always placed deep importance on breathing techniques. Warriors used it to stay composed in battle. Philosophers used it to sharpen their minds. Even today, athletes, surgeons, and performers rely on breath control to stay focused under pressure. It is not just about relaxation, it is about maintaining control in moments that demand a clear and steady mind. In the middle of a tense moment, whether facing a difficult conversation or dealing with an unexpected challenge, the breath is often the first thing to change. The body shifts into fight or flight mode, preparing for conflict or escape. But most modern problems do not require running or fighting. They require thinking, patience, and clarity. Shallow breathing keeps the body in a state of tension, while deep, controlled breaths bring it back to balance. The way a person breathes in stressful moments determines whether they react impulsively or respond with calmness. One of the simplest and most effective techniques is lengthening the exhale. When breathing out is longer than breathing in, the nervous system shifts into a relaxed state. This is why sighing feels like relief. It naturally slows the heart rate and eases tension. Practicing this regularly trains the body to remain calm even when pressure is high. Breath control is also a powerful way to break cycles of overthinking. When the mind is caught in endless worry, the body follows, creating a loop of stress and tension. Shifting focus to the breath pulls attention away from racing thoughts and back to the present moment. This is why deep breathing exercises are often recommended for reducing anxiety. They are not just about relaxation, they are about resetting the nervous system and bringing the mind back to a state of control. Daily situations provide endless opportunities to practice. Waiting in traffic, standing in line, or dealing with an unexpected inconvenience can all become moments to train the breath. Instead of letting frustration take over, focusing on slow, controlled breathing shifts the response from stress to stability. Over time, this practice builds a habit of staying composed in all situations. There is also a direct connection between breathing and emotions. When feeling angry or overwhelmed, noticing the breath can be a sign of how much control is being lost. If it is fast and shallow, it means emotions are taking over. Slowing it down is like pressing a reset button. It creates space to think before reacting. Instead of getting caught up in the moment, there is a chance to step back and choose a better response. True control starts with mastering the smallest things. If a person cannot control their breath, they cannot control their reactions. The mind follows the body, and the body follows the breath. By learning to regulate it, the entire state of being shifts. Calmness is not about suppressing emotions or pretending nothing affects you. It is about having the ability to stay centered no matter what is happening. The breath is the foundation of that ability. With time and practice, this skill becomes second nature. Instead of getting carried away by stress, the mind learns to stay steady. Instead of reacting impulsively, there is space to respond with clarity. The power to remain calm is not something reserved for a few people. It is something anyone can develop. It starts with awareness, grows with practice, and becomes a way of life. The breath is always there, ready to be used as a tool for strength, stability, and control. Chapter 4. Training yourself to stay neutral under pressure. Pressure reveals a person's true state of mind. When everything is going smoothly, it's easy to appear calm, collected, and in control. But the real test comes in difficult moments, when things don't go as planned, when unexpected challenges arise, when words or situations provoke a reaction. Some people crumble under pressure, losing their composure the moment stress builds up. Others remain steady, unshaken by the chaos around them. The difference is not luck or personality, it is training. The ability to stay neutral under pressure is a skill, and like any skill, it can be developed. It starts with understanding that pressure is not the enemy. Pressure is a part of life. No matter how much planning is done, no matter how careful a person is, stressful situations will always arise. The key is not to avoid them, but to prepare for them. The mind is like a muscle, and just as the body becomes stronger through resistance, the mind becomes steadier through practice. Those who train themselves to remain level-headed in small moments will find that they can do the same in bigger challenges. Most people react emotionally to pressure because they take everything personally. When something goes wrong, it feels like an attack. When someone disagrees, it feels like a threat. When a situation doesn't unfold as expected, it feels like failure. But in reality, most events are neutral. It is the interpretation that turns them into something stressful. The same situation that makes one person panic might not even bother someone else. The difference is not in the event itself, but in how it is processed. Learning to see things objectively instead of emotionally is one of the most powerful ways to stay calm. A useful way to train neutrality is to step outside of the moment. Instead of reacting instantly, imagine watching the situation from a distance, as if observing someone else going through it. This creates space between emotion and response. When the mind is not tangled in immediate feelings, clarity appears. Instead of acting on impulse, there is time to choose the best course of action. This habit, when repeated, rewires the brain to handle pressure with control rather than panic. Another way to build steadiness is to expect difficulty rather than resist it. People often struggle because they believe things should always go smoothly. When life doesn't match this expectation, frustration builds. But stress is not caused by the event itself, it is caused by resistance to the event. A person who expects that there will be delays, challenges, and unexpected turns is not caught off guard when they happen. They simply adjust and move forward. The less resistance there is to reality, the less power stress has. The mind naturally wants certainty. It wants to know what will happen next. It wants everything to be predictable. But the world doesn't work that way. There will always be situations where things feel out of control. In these moments, the only real control is over how one chooses to respond. Instead of trying to control the situation, controlling the reaction is what matters. Staying neutral does not mean feeling nothing. It means not allowing emotions to dictate actions. Small daily moments provide constant opportunities to practice this skill. A delayed response instead of an immediate reaction. A deep breath instead of frustration. A pause to consider instead of rushing to conclusions. These small choices build mental strength over time. No one masters calmness overnight, but those who train themselves to remain steady in minor challenges find that they naturally stay composed when bigger tests arise. The most disciplined minds are not the ones that feel nothing. They are the ones that feel everything but are not controlled by it. Training neutrality is about developing the ability to see things clearly, to think before reacting, and to navigate life's difficulties without being thrown off balance. Pressure will always exist, but those who master their response to it will always have the upper hand. Chapter 5: How to stop overthinking and worrying about everything. The mind has a habit of holding on to thoughts longer than necessary. One small worry turns into a long chain of anxious thinking. A simple mistake replays over and over, growing bigger with every repetition. A harmless comment from someone else becomes a source of self-doubt, analyzed from every possible angle. Overthinking doesn't solve problems, it creates them. The longer the mind lingers on something, the more real it feels, even if it has no actual weight in reality. Thoughts can build entire scenarios that never happen, causing stress over things that don't exist. This habit drains energy, steals focus, and makes even small challenges feel overwhelming. The first step to breaking free from overthinking is recognizing that most thoughts are not facts. The mind generates ideas constantly, but not everything it produces is true or useful. Just because a thought appears doesn't mean it deserves attention. Most overthinking comes from attaching too much importance to thoughts that should have been dismissed. Analyzing, reanalyzing, and searching for meaning in every little detail is like trying to read too deeply into a passing cloud. It changes shape, moves on, and yet the mind tries to make sense of something that was never meant to be permanent. Many people assume that worrying means they are being responsible. They believe that if they don't keep thinking about a problem, they might miss something important. But in reality, the more they think, the less clarity they have. A cluttered mind does not make better decisions, it makes more uncertain ones. Clarity comes from stepping back, not from diving deeper into endless thoughts. Solutions appear when the mind is calm, not when it is tangled in a loop of repetitive worry. Training the mind to stop overthinking starts with awareness. Noticing when thoughts are becoming excessive is the first step toward regaining control. Instead of letting the mind spiral, shifting attention to something real in the present moment breaks the cycle. Movement, deep breathing, or even focusing on physical sensations like touch or sound can bring the mind back to reality. The brain cannot be in two places at once. If it is fully engaged in the present, it cannot continue running in circles around imaginary problems. Another way to stop overthinking is to limit how much time is given to certain thoughts. Some decisions need careful attention, but most daily worries do not deserve hours of mental energy. Setting a time limit for decision-making forces the mind to focus only on what truly matters. Once the time is up, the choice is made, and there is no need to go back and second-guess. Constantly revisiting past choices or replaying conversations serves no purpose except to create unnecessary doubt. Letting go of thoughts that no longer serve a purpose is a skill that requires practice. The mind naturally wants to hold on to things, believing that thinking about them longer will somehow change the outcome. But the past cannot be rewritten, and the future cannot be controlled by worry. What can be controlled is where attention is placed right now. Every moment spent in overthinking is a moment taken away from actual living. The mind should be used as a tool, not as a source of constant distraction. Not everything requires a deep analysis. Some things are better left as they are, without breaking them apart into unnecessary details. A passing comment from someone else does not always have a hidden meaning. A minor setback does not define success or failure. A temporary feeling does not need to be turned into a permanent state of mind. Simplicity brings peace. When thoughts become too complex, stepping back and asking, "Does this actually matter?" can instantly reduce unnecessary mental noise. The strongest minds are not the ones that think the most. They are the ones that know when to think and when to move forward. Real confidence comes from trusting decisions instead of endlessly questioning them. Inner peace comes from releasing unnecessary mental weight instead of carrying it. Overthinking is not a habit that disappears overnight, but with awareness and consistent practice, it loses its control. The mind becomes clearer, emotions become more stable, and life feels lighter. Instead of getting lost in thoughts that serve no purpose, energy is directed toward actions that create real progress. Chapter 6. Silence your inner critic and think clearly. The mind is always speaking. Thoughts flow constantly, shaping the way life is experienced. Some are useful, pushing toward growth and clarity. Others serve no real purpose, existing only to create doubt and confusion. The loudest voice is often the most critical, the one that questions every decision, brings up every past mistake, and finds flaws in even the best efforts. It is the voice that makes moving forward feel difficult, as if every step is met with resistance. This voice does not represent truth. It is simply a habit of thinking that has been repeated so many times that it feels real. Self-criticism often comes from old experiences. A mistake in the past, a harsh comment from someone, or an expectation that was not met can leave a lasting imprint. Over time, these imprints turn into beliefs, shaping the way the mind speaks. It becomes easy to assume that every thought is a reflection of reality. But the mind is not always accurate. It does not always speak in facts. More often, it simply repeats the same patterns it has learned over the years. The way to silence the inner critic is not by fighting it. Arguing with negative thoughts only makes them louder. The more attention they receive, the more power they have. Instead of engaging with them, they can simply be observed. A thought appears, but instead of reacting to it, it is seen for what it is, just a thought. Not every thought deserves belief. Not every voice in the mind speaks truth. Clarity begins when space is created between thoughts and reactions. When criticism arises, it does not have to be taken personally. It can be noticed without being absorbed. This small shift in awareness changes everything. Instead of being controlled by negativity, it becomes something that passes through, like a cloud in the sky. It appears, it moves, and it disappears. Speaking to oneself with the same patience and understanding that would be given to a close friend changes the way the mind functions. No one would speak to another person the way the inner critic often speaks. Harsh words, constant doubt, endless questioning, none of these are the way people encourage others. Yet, they are often the way people speak to themselves. Changing this pattern requires conscious effort. Instead of allowing negative thoughts to run unchecked, they can be replaced with ones that are more balanced and realistic. Shifting focus from problems to solutions also weakens the voice of self-doubt. When mistakes happen, instead of replaying them, attention can be given to what can be learned and improved. The past cannot be changed, but the future is shaped by what is done now. If the mind is occupied with progress, there is less room for unnecessary criticism. The strongest minds are not free from doubt. They have simply learned not to give it power. They recognize that thoughts are not always a reflection of truth. They choose to focus on actions rather than being caught in endless self-judgment. When the inner critic is no longer the loudest voice, space is created for clarity, confidence, and peace. The mind becomes an ally instead of an obstacle, and every challenge is approached with a sense of control rather than fear. Chapter 7. Stop reacting, start responding. There are moments when life demands an immediate response. Something unexpected happens, and without warning, emotions begin to rise. The impulse is to react, to defend, to explain, to prove a point, or to fight back. This instinct comes from a place of survival, but it is not always the best choice. Reaction often comes from a place of emotion, where the mind is clouded and clarity is lost. Once something is said or done, it cannot be undone. The words are out, the actions are set in motion. In those moments, the ability to pause and shift from reacting to responding becomes one of the most powerful tools for mastering the mind. The difference between reacting and responding lies in control. Reacting is impulsive. It is an immediate, unfiltered response to a situation. It is driven by emotion, and more often than not, it comes from a place of defense. It can feel good in the short term, getting a word in, putting someone in their place, or expressing frustration, but it rarely leads to anything productive. In fact, reactions often make situations worse, leaving people with regret, conflict, and unresolved feelings. Once the emotional surge subsides, there is usually a sense of regret for what was said or done in the heat of the moment. Responding, on the other hand, is intentional. It requires a brief moment of reflection, a pause before action, where emotions are checked and thoughts are considered. In this space, clarity and reason can guide decisions rather than impulse or emotion. A response doesn't come from a place of defensiveness, but from understanding, calmness, and often wisdom. It's the difference between reacting with anger and responding with patience. It's the difference between saying something out of frustration and choosing to communicate thoughtfully. This difference is where true control lies. A key part of the practice is recognizing that not everything requires a response. People often feel the need to react to every slight, every comment, every challenge, but the truth is, not every situation needs a reply. Sometimes, the most powerful response is no response at all. This doesn't mean retreating or avoiding difficult conversations, but rather choosing when and how to engage. When people learn to control their immediate reactions, they free themselves from the burden of constant emotional response. One of the most practical ways to practice responding instead of reacting is to create a habit of pausing. When something happens that triggers an emotional reaction, the first step is to take a breath, step back, and allow time to process. Even a few seconds can create enough space to shift from an emotional reaction to a more reasoned response. It is in these moments of pause that the mind can return to its center and approach the situation with clarity. This simple habit, pausing before reacting, brings incredible power. When the mind isn't clouded by emotional reactivity, it is able to think clearly and make better decisions. Instead of being driven by impulse, it can respond based on the best course of action, not the first impulse. Instead of escalating the tension in a situation, it can diffuse it. Instead of falling into patterns of anger, defensiveness, or frustration, it can choose a more measured and thoughtful path. Responding with intention also involves recognizing what truly matters. When caught up in the moment, it's easy to get lost in the small details. A careless comment, a slight misunderstanding, or a disagreement can feel overwhelming. But in the grand scheme of things, how many of these moments are truly important? Responding instead of reacting means recognizing when something is worth investing emotional energy in and when it is better to let go. Not everything requires a fight, and not every disagreement requires a resolution. Sometimes, the best response is to choose peace over conflict, understanding over being right. This skill doesn't just apply to interactions with others, it also applies to how one responds to stress and adversity. Life doesn't always go according to plan. challenges appear, setbacks happen, and obstacles get in the way. In these moments, the natural tendency is to react with frustration, disappointment, or even defeat. But just as with interpersonal interactions, responding to challenges with intention and calmness leads to better outcomes. The way challenges are faced shapes the future. If the response is panic or anger, the situation becomes harder to navigate. If the response is calm, clarity follows, and solutions appear. There is immense strength in choosing to respond. It requires awareness, discipline, and the ability to control one's impulses. In any moment of stress or conflict, the ability to pause, reflect, and choose a response is an act of mastery. It transforms difficult situations into opportunities for growth and connection. When people begin to practice responding instead of reacting, they find themselves less controlled by the chaos around them and more in control of their own actions. They become the calm in the storm, no matter how intense the situation may be. Building this muscle of response takes time. It doesn't happen in one day or one conversation. It requires consistent practice and a commitment to becoming more aware of how the mind operates. Recognizing patterns of reaction is the first step. From there, the practice of pausing and considering the response becomes a habit. Over time, this habit becomes second nature, and the mind no longer feels the need to respond emotionally to every situation. Instead, it becomes a source of clarity, calm, and thoughtful action. The ability to choose how to respond is a gift. It is a form of self-mastery that can transform not only personal interactions, but also how life itself is experienced. Instead of being swept away by every challenge, every emotion, every trigger, people can stand firm in their own center. They can be the anchor in the storm, choosing how to react with purpose, not impulse. By learning to respond rather than react, they create space for peace, clarity, and strength in every situation. Chapter 8. The Secret to Emotional Control in Difficult Moments. In difficult moments, emotions can feel overwhelming. It's like being in the middle of a storm, where the winds of frustration, anger, fear, or sadness toss you in every direction. It's not easy to find stability, and sometimes it feels impossible to regain control. But there is power in knowing that you do not have to be at the mercy of those emotions. Emotional control is not about suppressing feelings or pretending they don't exist. It's about finding balance in the chaos, understanding where the feelings come from, and learning to direct them in ways that serve you. Emotions are part of being human. They are natural and unavoidable, arising from the way we perceive the world around us. They inform us about our environment, our needs, and our relationships. But just because emotions arise does not mean they need to dictate our actions or our state of mind. Often the emotions that take over are the ones that cloud our judgment, making us say things we regret or act in ways we later wish we hadn't. This is where the skill of emotional control comes in, not to deny or block out emotions, but to create a space where they can be felt and processed without being ruled by them. Emotional control is not about shutting down your feelings or pretending that everything is fine when it's not. It's about acknowledging your emotions, understanding their root cause, and then choosing how to respond. Think of it like being the captain of a ship during a storm. The ship may rock, and the waves may crash, but the captain doesn't abandon the wheel. The captain stays steady, focused, and makes thoughtful decisions about how to navigate the storm. Similarly, emotional control allows you to stay steady, even when emotions threaten to pull you off course. One of the first steps to emotional control is understanding that emotions are temporary. They may feel intense in the moment, but they don't last forever. This realization helps break the cycle of overreacting. When emotions are allowed to play out without judgment or resistance, they often lose their grip and begin to subside naturally. Trying to force them away only gives them more power, but by accepting them as temporary visitors, you stop feeding them and let them move on. A big part of emotional control is becoming aware of what triggers certain emotions. What causes you to feel frustrated, angry, or anxious? What are the situations, words, or people that set off these feelings? Identifying these triggers is key because it gives you insight into why you feel the way you do. Once you understand your triggers, you can begin to make choices that prevent these emotions from taking over. It's like knowing which buttons to avoid pressing, so you're less likely to experience the emotional storm in the first place. For example, if you know that a particular situation at work causes you to feel anxious, you can prepare yourself mentally for it. You can think through how you want to handle it, what kind of response you want to have, and what emotional state you want to cultivate. In doing this, you shift from a reactionary mode, where your emotions control you, to a proactive mode, where you control your emotional response. Emotions, however, are not always negative. Happiness, excitement, love, and joy are just as much a part of life, and the ability to manage these positive emotions is just as important as managing negative ones. Being in touch with your emotions doesn't mean being overwhelmed by them, whether those emotions are positive or negative. It's about learning to experience them fully without allowing them to dictate your decisions or your actions. Another essential tool for emotional control is mindfulness. By practicing mindfulness, you can step back and observe your emotions without judgment. Instead of reacting impulsively, you pause, take a moment to notice how you're feeling, and simply observe the emotion without letting it control you. Mindfulness helps you create a distance between you and the emotion, allowing you to understand it without being consumed by it. It's the difference between being swept away by the current and standing on solid ground, watching the current from a place of safety. When emotions arise, you don't need to act on them immediately. In fact, acting impulsively often leads to regret. When faced with intense emotions, take a moment to breathe deeply. Focus on your breath, and use that breath to ground yourself in the present moment. This pause creates space, and in that space you can make a more measured response. You don't have to let the emotion lead you. You can lead the emotion. Sometimes, emotional control requires a shift in perspective. For example, when facing criticism or a challenging situation, it's easy to feel defensive or upset. But what if instead of immediately reacting, you chose to see it as an opportunity for growth? What if the person offering criticism is trying to help you improve, not tear you down? Changing how you perceive a situation can drastically alter your emotional reaction. This doesn't mean ignoring your feelings, but it does mean reframing the situation in a way that empowers you to respond calmly and thoughtfully. There is also the power of self-compassion. Being kind to yourself when emotions are overwhelming is a crucial part of emotional control. It's easy to become frustrated with yourself for feeling a certain way or for not handling a situation perfectly. But emotional control isn't about perfection. It's about being compassionate with yourself, acknowledging that you're human and that emotions are part of that. By being gentle with yourself, you can better navigate difficult feelings without judgment or shame. Emotional control isn't about forcing yourself to feel a certain way. It's about allowing yourself to feel and then deciding how to respond. Emotions are like waves. They come, they rise, they crash, and they recede. You don't have to resist them or fight them. You can simply ride the wave and stay grounded until it passes. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes to stay calm in the face of emotional turmoil. It is important to remember that emotional control is a skill, and like any skill, it takes practice. You won't always get it right, and that's okay. What matters is the willingness to try and to keep learning. Over time, emotional control becomes a way of life, a habit that shapes how you respond to every situation. When you master this skill, you no longer have to be ruled by your emotions. You can navigate the ups and downs of life with grace, confidence, and a deep sense of inner calm. You become the one who is in charge, not the emotions themselves. The more you practice emotional control, the more you'll find yourself at peace, even in the most challenging circumstances. You won't be immune to emotions, but you'll be able to handle them with poise, allowing you to move through life with greater ease and clarity. With this skill, you will find a sense of inner strength, an unwavering calmness that is yours to keep, no matter what comes your way. Chapter 9. How to handle high-stress moments like a pro. High-stress moments are an unavoidable part of life. Whether it's a deadline at work, a personal issue, or something unexpected that throws everything off balance, stress can hit us in the most inconvenient and overwhelming ways. The key to navigating these situations without losing your composure lies in the ability to stay grounded, maintain perspective, and approach the situation with calmness and clarity. One of the first things to recognize when stress arises is that stress itself isn't the problem. It's how we react to it that often makes it worse. Stress is simply a response to a perceived challenge, and challenges are a part of everyday life. The problem isn't the stress, but rather the way we often give into it, letting it spiral out of control. When stress hits, our bodies and minds react instinctively, our hearts race, our thoughts scatter, and everything feels urgent. But just because stress shows up doesn't mean we need to let it dictate how we feel or what we do. It's all about managing that initial reaction. You don't shut down or ignore the stress you're feeling, but you can learn to create a pause between feeling the stress and reacting to it. In that space, you have the ability to choose how you want to respond. The first step in controlling stress is recognizing that you have a choice. You don't have to immediately jump into panic mode or let the stress take over your thoughts and actions. A simple way to gain control over the stress response is by focusing on your breath. In moments of high stress, our breath becomes shallow and we forget to breathe deeply. By taking a few deep breaths, you can activate your body's natural relaxation response. When you breathe deeply, it triggers a calming effect on your nervous system, helping to reduce the immediate impact of stress. It may seem small, but this small action can make a big difference. It brings your attention away from the chaos and into the present moment, giving you the clarity to think through your next steps. Another powerful technique to handle stress is to challenge your thinking. Often, when we're stressed, we start to imagine the worst-case scenario, spiraling into anxious thoughts about what could go wrong. We project ourselves into a future that hasn't happened yet, and we let those imagined fears take over. But the future is uncertain, and dwelling on it only amplifies our stress. A more productive approach is to focus on what's actually in front of you, the current task, the immediate problem. You can deal with the challenge at hand, but you don't need to add additional layers of worry about things that may never happen. By confronting the present moment instead of imagining future disasters, you keep your mind clear and focused. In high-stress situations, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the sheer volume of things that need to be done. This feeling of being overloaded can make everything feel urgent and impossible. A helpful strategy is to break things down. Take a step back and look at the bigger picture. What are the immediate actions you need to take to move forward? What can you do now, and what can wait? Often, the feeling of stress comes from the perception of having too much on your plate, but once you break things down into manageable pieces, the situation becomes more manageable. Another crucial part of handling stress is managing your expectations. Life doesn't always go according to plan, and things often don't unfold as we expect. This can cause frustration and stress. But when you can adjust your expectations and embrace the uncertainty of life, you create a sense of peace in knowing that not everything needs to be perfect. You do what you can with the resources and time you have, and the rest is out of your control. By focusing on the process and doing the best you can in the moment, you alleviate the pressure to make everything go perfectly. A big part of handling stress is also learning how to let go of things that are out of your control. There's no use in worrying about things that you can't change, and yet we often waste so much energy doing just that. Letting go isn't about being passive, it's about accepting that some things are beyond your reach and choosing to focus on the things you can influence. When you let go of the need to control everything, you free yourself from unnecessary stress and anxiety. In high-stress moments, it's important to remember that you don't have to do everything alone. You can seek help or delegate tasks when needed. It's okay to lean on others for support, whether it's a colleague, a friend, or a family member. Having a support system in place can help relieve some of the pressure you're feeling and offer a fresh perspective on the situation. Collaboration often leads to better results, and sharing the load can make stress feel less overwhelming. Another important aspect of handling stress is maintaining your physical health. Stress takes a toll on both your mind and your body, and the more physically resilient you are, the better equipped you'll be to handle stressful situations. Regular exercise, a balanced diet, and adequate rest are all vital components in building physical resilience. When your body is strong, you're better able to handle the mental strain that stress can place on you. The mind and body are interconnected, and taking care of one supports the other. Finally, after the stress has passed, it's essential to reflect on how you handled the situation. Did you react impulsively, or did you stay calm? What worked well, and what would you do differently next time? This reflection isn't meant to criticize yourself, it's about learning and growing. Stressful situations are opportunities for growth, and the more you reflect on them, the more you'll build the emotional resilience needed to handle future challenges with ease. It's easy to see stress as something we need to avoid, but the reality is that stress will always be part of life. What matters is how we deal with it. By learning to stay calm, manage your thoughts, break down tasks, and focus on the present, you take away stress's power over you. The more you practice these strategies, the more resilient you become, and the more natural it feels to handle stress with a clear mind and a steady heart. The next time stress tries to take over, you'll be ready, not by eliminating it, but by facing it with a calm and measured response. In doing so, you'll not only master stressful situations, but also build the emotional strength needed for whatever life throws your way. Chapter 10. Dealing with difficult people without losing your cool. Dealing with difficult people is one of the most challenging experiences we face in life. It's something that can test our patience, stretch our emotional limits, and often leave us feeling frustrated. Whether it's a colleague at work, a family member, or even a stranger, the way we respond to difficult people has a profound impact on our own peace of mind. It's easy to get caught up in the drama, the arguments, or the misunderstandings, but the key to handling these interactions with grace and calmness lies in controlling your own response. The first thing to understand is that you can't control other people. No matter how much you might want to change someone else's behavior, you simply can't. People have their own emotions, beliefs, and experiences that shape the way they act. And while you might not agree with or even understand their actions, it's important to remember that their behavior is not your responsibility. What you can control is your own reaction. You can control how you let their words or actions affect you, and that's where your power lies. One of the most effective ways to handle difficult people is to avoid taking their behavior personally. Often when someone is rude, aggressive, or disrespectful, we internalize it. We think, "What did I do wrong?" or "Why are they treating me like this?" But the truth is, other people's behavior is rarely about you. It's more about them, about their frustrations, their insecurities, or their struggles. When you can see that their actions aren't a direct reflection of who you are, you can stop letting it affect your sense of self-worth. When faced with someone who is difficult, take a moment to pause before reacting. Instead of immediately responding with anger or frustration, take a deep breath. By giving yourself a brief pause, you create space between the stimulus, the difficult person, and your response. In that space, you have the opportunity to choose your reaction, and you don't have to respond with emotion or aggression. You can choose to respond with kindness, patience, or even silence. One of the most powerful tools you can use in dealing with difficult people is empathy. While it might be hard to empathize with someone who is being rude or unkind, trying to understand their perspective can help you navigate the situation with more calmness. People act out of their own pain, stress, or misunderstandings. When you put yourself in their shoes, you start to see that their behavior might be a result of things you don't fully understand. This doesn't mean you have to agree with them or condone their behavior, but it allows you to approach the situation with compassion instead of hostility. Another important factor to remember is that you don't need to engage in every argument. Sometimes, difficult people thrive on conflict. They want to provoke you, make you defensive, or get under your skin. But by refusing to engage in the drama, you take away their power. You don't have to have the last word or win the argument. In fact, sometimes the best response is to remain calm, composed, and quiet. Silence can be a powerful tool. It disarms the situation and shows that you're not willing to be pulled into unnecessary conflict. If the situation calls for a response, make sure you keep your communication clear, respectful, and assertive. Being assertive doesn't mean being aggressive or domineering. It simply means standing your ground while remaining respectful of the other person. You can express your feelings and boundaries without resorting to aggression. When you communicate in this way, you demonstrate that you are in control of your emotions and that you value yourself enough to stand up for what you believe in. Sometimes, the most difficult people are the ones who seem to have no regard for your boundaries. They may constantly interrupt you, dismiss your opinions, or invade your personal space. In these situations, it's important to assert your boundaries firmly. This might feel uncomfortable at first, but it's a necessary step in maintaining your own peace. When you allow others to overstep your boundaries without addressing it, you are essentially giving away your sense of control. But by calmly and confidently asserting your boundaries, you regain that control and protect your mental and emotional well-being. Of course, There will be situations where difficult people won't change. Some people simply aren't open to compromise, and no matter how much you try to empathize or communicate with them, they will continue to behave in ways that challenge your peace of mind. In these cases, you need to know when to walk away. Sometimes, the best way to protect your calmness is to remove yourself from the situation entirely. This doesn't mean giving up or admitting defeat. It means recognizing that continuing to engage with someone who is determined to be difficult is only going to drain your energy. You have the right to choose where to invest your time and emotional energy, and sometimes walking away is the wisest and most peaceful choice. Learning how to deal with difficult people is not just about protecting your peace in the moment. It's also about building long-term resilience. Every time you handle a challenging situation with calmness and grace, you strengthen your ability to do it again in the future. Over time, these skills become second nature. Instead of feeling angry or frustrated when dealing with difficult people, you'll respond with a sense of calm authority. You'll have learned how to keep your emotions in check, how to communicate effectively, and how to maintain your own sense of self-worth in the face of criticism or aggression. It's also important to reflect on the difficult people in your life and consider whether they are adding value to your life. While it's important to be compassionate and understanding toward others, you also need to protect your own mental and emotional well-being. If someone consistently brings negativity into your life and shows no willingness to change, you may need to reassess the relationship. Sometimes, the most peaceful choice is to set boundaries or even distance yourself from people who bring constant stress into your life. Dealing with difficult people is an inevitable part of life. But by taking control of your response, practicing empathy, setting boundaries, and choosing when to walk away, you can maintain your calm and protect your peace. You don't need to be at the mercy of other people's behavior. You have the power to navigate these situations with grace and to keep your mind clear, no matter how challenging the other person may be. Chapter 11. Staying calm when things don't go your way. It's inevitable that life doesn't always go the way we expect or want. There are moments when everything seems to be falling apart, and it feels like nothing is working in your favor. You plan, you work hard, and still, things don't line up the way you envisioned. It's easy to get frustrated, angry, or disappointed when your expectations don't match reality. But it's in these moments when your ability to stay calm becomes your greatest asset. The question is not whether things will go wrong, it's how you respond when they do. It's all too common to get swept up in frustration when life doesn't go the way we plan. The unexpected twists can throw us off balance, and in that disorientation, we often lose sight of our internal peace. Things not going your way can trigger stress, anxiety, and a cascade of negative emotions. However, staying calm when things go wrong is not about suppressing those feelings, but rather about accepting them without letting them control your mind. The goal is to move through the difficulty with clarity and poise, knowing that no situation, no matter how challenging, is permanent. The first step in staying calm when life isn't going your way is recognizing that you can't control everything. We live in a world that places a lot of emphasis on control, on having everything in its right place, on achieving specific goals in specific timelines. And while there's nothing wrong with having goals or striving for success, the truth is, life is unpredictable. External factors, other people's actions, or even unexpected events can throw us off course at any given moment. Understanding that you can't control everything is liberating because it releases you from the pressure of perfection. It allows you to focus on what you can control, your reaction. When things don't go the way you expect, your initial reaction might be disappointment, anger, or frustration. These are natural human emotions, and it's important to acknowledge them. Suppressing your emotions isn't the goal here. It's about understanding them and choosing how to move forward. When you feel those emotions rise, try to step back from the situation and give yourself a moment. Take a deep breath, and in that moment of stillness, allow yourself the space to process what's happening. The key here is to avoid immediate reactions that could escalate the situation further. The first reaction often comes from a place of impulse, but the next one, the one you choose to make consciously, can help restore your peace of mind. It's also important to remember that adversity is a part of life. No one's path is entirely smooth. We all face setbacks, unexpected detours, and moments where things don't go as planned. While it can be difficult to accept, these challenges are often the catalysts for growth. They force us to adapt, to learn, and to become more resilient. Life isn't about avoiding difficulties, it's about how we handle them. Each time something doesn't go your way, you are presented with an opportunity to exercise your ability to stay calm, to adjust your expectations, and to move forward with clarity. A helpful mindset shift is to see challenges as lessons rather than roadblocks. Instead of thinking of life's difficulties as signs that you're failing, view them as opportunities to gain insight into what works and what doesn't. Each setback is a chance to refine your approach, to strengthen your character, and to learn something new about yourself. When you start to see challenges this way, it becomes much easier to stay calm because you understand that failure is not a reflection of your worth, but a necessary part of growth. In situations where things aren't going your way, it's often easy to get caught up in self-blame. You might start thinking, "What did I do wrong?" or "Why is this happening to me?" This negative self-talk only adds fuel to the fire. The truth is, things often don't go as planned, even when we do everything right. Mistakes happen, things go awry, and sometimes life simply unfolds in unexpected ways. When you stop blaming yourself for the things beyond your control, you free yourself from unnecessary stress. Instead of ruminating over what could have been different, focus your energy on what you can do now. What can you learn from the situation? What can you adjust moving forward? Another powerful tool in staying calm when life doesn't go your way is practicing gratitude. It may sound counterintuitive, but in moments of frustration, focusing on what you are grateful for can shift your perspective. Even in challenging situations, there are always things to be thankful for: small wins, personal strengths, lessons learned, or even the support of friends and family. By shifting your focus from what's going wrong to what's going right, you begin to break the cycle of negative thinking. Gratitude helps you reframe the situation, reminding you that there's always something to appreciate, even in the midst of hardship. In addition, when things don't go as planned, try to maintain a long-term perspective. Short-term setbacks may feel overwhelming in the moment, but they often lose their significance over time. What seems like a huge deal right now may seem trivial a month or a year from now. This shift in perspective allows you to avoid getting bogged down by temporary issues and helps you keep your calm in the face of adversity. Knowing that everything is temporary, that your current challenges won't define you forever, can give you the strength to press on without getting lost in frustration or anger. It's easy to get discouraged when things aren't going the way you envisioned, but it's important to keep moving forward, even if the progress feels slow. Taking small, consistent actions can help you regain a sense of control. Instead of focusing on the big picture or the end result, shift your focus to the next small step you can take. Break down your goals into manageable pieces and take them one at a time. This approach prevents you from feeling overwhelmed and helps you maintain a sense of calm, even in the face of setbacks. When life doesn't go your way, it's also crucial to remember that there are always alternatives. Sometimes things don't unfold as expected because a different, perhaps even better, path is waiting for you. The detours in life often lead to the best discoveries. When you're able to remain calm and open to new possibilities, you give yourself the opportunity to find new solutions. Flexibility is a key component of maintaining your peace of mind in these situations. When you rigidly hold on to one way of doing things or one idea of success, you set yourself up for frustration. But when you remain open and adaptable, you allow yourself to explore new avenues that may lead to unexpected success. The ability to stay calm when things don't go your way is a skill that takes practice. It's not something that happens overnight, but each time you face a challenge, you are building your resilience. The more you practice staying calm, the more natural it becomes. You'll start to notice that even in the most difficult situations, you are able to maintain your composure, think clearly, and make decisions from a place of peace rather than panic. In these moments, you'll find that you have the strength to weather any storm, no matter how unpredictable or challenging it may be. Chapter 12. When life hits hard, staying calm during personal crisis. Life has a way of testing your ability to stay calm, especially when you face personal crises. Whether it's the loss of a loved one, a financial setback, a health scare, or a major life change, these moments challenge us in ways that nothing else can. It's in these times of deep personal hardship that your ability to maintain composure becomes essential. But how do you stay calm when your world is shaking? How do you keep your inner peace when everything around you feels like it's falling apart? The first thing to understand is that feeling overwhelmed, confused, or distraught during a personal crisis is entirely normal. These moments bring pain, uncertainty, and emotional turmoil, and it's unrealistic to expect that you'll feel calm or composed right away. Acknowledging the emotional weight of the situation is not only necessary, but healthy. Your feelings matter, and they are a natural response to the circumstances you're facing. The goal is not to suppress or ignore your emotions, but to find a way to move through them without letting them completely control you. One of the most important things to remember is that your reactions during a crisis are shaped by your mindset. Your thoughts play a huge role in determining how you experience the situation. If you believe that the crisis is something you cannot handle, or that it defines you as a person, you are more likely to feel helpless and lose your composure. However, if you can reframe the situation and remind yourself that this moment, however painful, is just that, a moment, you can begin to distance yourself from the overwhelming feelings. Understanding that nothing lasts forever, even the toughest of times, can offer a sense of hope and perspective. Another essential practice during a personal crisis is focusing on what you can control. Crises often bring with them a sense of helplessness, but it's important to recognize that you still have control over how you respond. While you might not be able to change the circumstances, you can control how you manage your emotions and how you move forward. This sense of agency is incredibly powerful. Even in the darkest of times, knowing that you have the ability to choose your next step, however small it may seem, can help you regain a sense of control. It reminds you that you are not entirely at the mercy of the situation, but that you still have power in your own response. In these difficult moments, your breath becomes your ally. When your emotions are running high, it's easy for your thoughts to spiral, and the physical manifestations of stress, like a racing heart or shallow breathing, only amplify the sense of chaos. But focusing on your breath, slowing it down and taking deep, intentional inhales and exhales can help to calm both your mind and body. The breath is the simplest tool available to you in moments of panic. By taking a few minutes to breathe deeply, you can center yourself, reduce your stress, and shift your perspective. Another useful strategy during a crisis is the power of acceptance. Accepting the situation for what it is doesn't mean that you like it or that you've given up. It simply means that you are acknowledging the reality of the moment without resistance. Often the suffering we experience during a personal crisis comes from fighting against the reality of the situation. We wish it were different, we wish we could change it, but wishing doesn't alter what's happening. Accepting the reality of the situation can bring a sense of peace, allowing you to focus on how you can move forward rather than being stuck in what is. When you stop fighting reality, you free yourself to take action. During a personal crisis, you may also find yourself questioning your worth, your future, and your ability to recover. It's common to feel like everything you've worked for has been shattered, but it's in these moments that your resilience is most important. You've survived difficult moments in the past, and you'll survive this one too. Reminding yourself of your past strengths and overcoming adversity can help reignite your confidence. Acknowledge the times in your life when you thought you wouldn't make it through, but you did. These past experiences are proof that you have the strength to endure and rise again, even when things feel impossible. Staying calm in the midst of personal hardship also requires you to lean on the support of others. You don't have to face these challenges alone, and reaching out to trusted friends, family members, or even professional support can provide you with the help and perspective you need. It's easy to feel isolated when going through a crisis, but sharing your struggles with others can lighten the burden and help you feel less alone. Sometimes, simply talking through your feelings can provide clarity and relief. You don't have to carry the weight of the crisis by yourself. It's also essential to give yourself permission to grieve. Personal crises often bring about loss, whether it's the loss of someone, something, or a part of your life. Grief is a natural part of the healing process, and it's important to allow yourself to feel it. Avoid the temptation to push your emotions down or pretend like everything is fine. Acknowledge the pain, the sadness, and the anger, but don't let them consume you. Remember that it's okay to not have all the answers immediately. Healing takes time, and part of staying calm is recognizing that you don't need to have everything figured out right away. The path forward will unfold in its own time. In moments of personal crisis, it can also be helpful to turn your focus inward. Often, our reactions to crises are shaped by external expectations or judgments. We worry about how others perceive us, about what we should be doing, and about the image we're projecting to the world. But when life is uncertain, the most important relationship you have is the one you cultivate with yourself. Take time to check in with your inner world, to practice self-compassion, and to nurture your own well-being. Self-care doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It can be as simple as giving yourself the space to rest, eat, and take care of your mental health. Amid all the emotions and the chaos, it's crucial to maintain a sense of perspective. The situation you're facing right now may seem like the end of the world, but in time, you'll see it for what it truly is. A chapter in your life. A chapter that may have been difficult, yes, but a chapter that will eventually pass. Life moves in seasons, and no season lasts forever. When you stay grounded in the understanding that this moment is temporary, you remind yourself that peace is not far off. You will emerge from the storm stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Staying calm in the face of personal crisis is a practice that requires patience and perseverance. It's not about perfection or never feeling the weight of the moment. It's about finding your center again, no matter how many times you are knocked off course. By accepting the reality, focusing on what you can control, reaching out for support, and practicing self-compassion, you can move through personal crises with grace. The storms of life may come, but with every storm you grow stronger in your ability to weather them with calm and clarity. Chapter 13. Training your mind to be calm every single day. Every day offers us a new opportunity to train our minds, to strengthen our ability to remain calm, and to approach the challenges of life with a sense of peace. The idea of training your mind to be calm every single day is not about finding a quick fix or hoping that peace will magically appear in moments of stress. It's about building habits, shifting your mindset, and creating a foundation that supports your ability to stay composed no matter what life throws your way. The first step in making calmness a daily practice is understanding that it requires consistency. Just like physical fitness, mental fitness is developed over time through regular effort. This is not a one-time endeavor, nor is it a skill you can master overnight. It's a process that evolves through small, deliberate actions every single day. Think of it as a muscle that gets stronger with use. You're not going to run a marathon on your first day of training, but if you stick with it, you'll gradually build the stamina and strength to handle increasingly difficult situations. Start by establishing a routine that supports calmness. The morning is a powerful time of the day, and how you begin your day can set the tone for everything that follows. It's tempting to jump out of bed, check your phone, and rush into the demands of the day. But taking just a few minutes in the morning to center yourself can make a significant difference. This could be as simple as sitting quietly for a few minutes, focusing on your breath, and setting an intention for the day. It could be a quick meditation, or just taking a moment to appreciate the quiet before the world gets loud. What matters is that you start your day with intention, so that when challenges arise, you're already grounded. In the course of your day, you'll encounter stressors. Life isn't about eliminating stress, it's about learning how to respond to it. Stress is a natural part of being human, and it's impossible to avoid completely. But how you react to stress, and how you allow it to affect your mindset, is what really matters. When stress arises, instead of letting it take over, take a step back and pause. Rather than getting swept up in the rush of thoughts and emotions, give yourself a moment of stillness. This could be a deep breath, a few seconds of reflection, or even a shift in your perspective. By practicing this pause every day, you train your mind to respond rather than react. You create a space between stimulus and response, allowing you to act from a place of calmness rather than impulse. A crucial part of daily mental training is developing the ability to focus. In our modern world, distractions are everywhere. It's easy to get overwhelmed by the constant flow of information, demands, and expectations. But cultivating focus is essential if you want to stay calm in any situation. When you focus your attention on the present moment, you immediately disconnect from the chaos. You stop worrying about what might happen in the future or ruminating on what happened in the past. Instead, you become fully immersed in what is happening right now, which helps you feel more grounded and less anxious. Practice mindfulness throughout your day. This doesn't mean you need to be in a constant state of meditation, but it does mean that you're intentionally present in whatever you're doing. Whether you're eating, walking, working, or having a conversation, practice being fully engaged in that moment. If your mind starts to wander, gently guide it back to the task at hand. This simple habit of mindfulness strengthens your ability to stay present, which in turn helps you maintain your calm when things get chaotic. Another key to training your mind to be calm is learning how to manage your thoughts. Thoughts can be powerful, but they don't have to control you. If you allow every thought to dictate your emotions, you'll find yourself constantly reacting to the world around you. Instead, practice observing your thoughts without judgment. When a negative or stressful thought arises, instead of attaching to it, simply notice it, acknowledge it, and then let it go. You don't have to believe every thought that comes into your mind. You can choose to detach from them, which gives you the space to choose how you want to feel and respond. The power of positive affirmations can also be a helpful tool in your daily training. The words you say to yourself shape your reality. If you tell yourself that you're calm, strong, and capable, you're more likely to embody those qualities in your daily life. Repeating positive affirmations helps to rewire your brain, gradually replacing negative or fear-based thinking with thoughts that support your inner peace. This practice doesn't require a lot of time or effort, but it can be incredibly powerful when done consistently. Another practice that can help you stay calm every day is gratitude. Focusing on the things you're grateful for shifts your attention from what's going wrong to what's going right. It's easy to get caught up in the stresses of life, but when you make gratitude a daily habit, you start to see things from a different perspective. Each day, take a moment to reflect on the things you appreciate. This simple habit trains your mind to focus on the positives, helping you to maintain a more balanced and calm mindset. It's also important to take care of your physical health as part of your mental training. Your body and mind are deeply interconnected, so what you do for your physical health directly impacts your mental well-being. Regular exercise, a balanced diet, and adequate rest all contribute to a calm and focused mind. When your body feels good, your mind follows suit. Conversely, when you neglect your physical health, it becomes harder to maintain a calm and clear state of mind. Make sure that you're taking the time to nurture your body every day so that your mind can stay strong and resilient. Another valuable aspect of daily training is learning how to let go of things that are beyond your control. In our busy lives, we often waste energy on trying to change things that we have no influence over. Whether it's the actions of others, the outcomes of certain situations, or the opinions of the people around us, these things are out of our control. The sooner we can accept that fact, the sooner we can focus on what truly matters. Every day, make a conscious effort to release the things that you cannot control. By doing so, you free yourself from unnecessary stress and create more space for calmness in your life. Lastly, it's important to recognize that staying calm every day doesn't mean being perfect. There will be days when you're not as centered or as calm as you'd like to be. You'll experience moments of frustration, anxiety, or overwhelm. That's okay. What matters is that you keep showing up, keep practicing, and keep training your mind. Perfection isn't the goal, progress is. Every time you practice calmness, you're building a stronger foundation. Every time you respond to a challenging situation with patience and composure, you're strengthening the muscles of your mind. It's a lifelong process, but with consistent effort, you will find that staying calm becomes more natural and more effortless over time. Training your mind to be calm every single day is a commitment to yourself and your well-being. It's about creating habits that support your peace and resilience. It's about recognizing that calmness is a skill that can be developed and strengthened over time. By making calmness a daily practice, you'll not only become more resilient in the face of life's challenges, but you'll also experience a greater sense of peace and clarity in every moment. Keep showing up, keep practicing, and watch as your inner calm becomes an unshakable foundation in your life. Chapter 14. The Discipline of Calmness. Why self-control leads to peace. Mastering calmness isn't just about reacting to the challenges of the day. It's about understanding that true peace comes from within, and that achieving it requires the discipline to remain grounded, no matter what is happening around you. The discipline of calmness is a powerful force because it's not tied to external circumstances. It's a mindset, a choice, and a skill that you have the ability to cultivate over time. In every moment, you're presented with an opportunity to choose how you will respond. This isn't always easy. Life has a way of throwing curveballs at us, and it's easy to be swept up in the storm. But what if you could remain calm through it all? What if you could approach every situation with a sense of clarity and control, no matter how chaotic the world around you might seem? The key lies in discipline. Discipline isn't just about willpower or forcing yourself to behave in a certain way. It's about building habits that align with your values and then sticking with them consistently. Over time, these habits form the foundation of your inner calm. This kind of discipline requires patience, practice, and an unwavering commitment to your peace of mind. When you think about discipline, it's easy to associate it with rules and restrictions, but discipline, when it comes to calmness, is about freedom. It's about creating the freedom to choose your response to any situation, rather than reacting impulsively or letting your emotions take control. This freedom doesn't come from avoiding challenges or suppressing feelings. It comes from developing the capacity to face whatever comes your way with poise and presence. One of the most effective ways to build this kind of discipline is through daily practice. Every day offers a new chance to exercise your ability to stay calm. Whether it's a stressful conversation, a difficult task at work, or a personal setback, each challenge is an opportunity to strengthen your resolve. By practicing calmness regularly, you begin to wire your brain to respond with patience, clarity, and focus, rather than anxiety or frustration. It's important to understand that this kind of discipline isn't about perfection, it's about progress. The goal isn't to never get upset or frustrated, but to learn how to handle those moments with grace and self-awareness. Each time you encounter a situation that tests your calm, it's an opportunity to grow. The more you practice responding with composure, the easier it becomes over time. It's like building a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets. One of the ways to cultivate this discipline is to focus on small, manageable actions. You don't need to overhaul your entire life all at once. Instead, identify one or two areas where you can begin practicing calmness. Perhaps it's learning to pause before reacting when you're confronted with a stressful situation. Maybe it's becoming more mindful of your thoughts and emotions and choosing not to let them dictate your actions. These small moments of self-control build the foundation for a deeper, more consistent sense of calm. It's also helpful to develop a routine that supports your mental discipline. A structured day can help you stay focused and avoid getting caught up in distractions. This doesn't mean that every moment needs to be planned down to the last second, but having a sense of structure gives you a sense of stability. When you know what to expect from your day, you're less likely to become overwhelmed by unforeseen events. This routine also creates space for moments of stillness and reflection, where you can center yourself and recalibrate if you've been pulled off course. As you work on building your mental discipline, remember that setbacks are part of the process. There will be days when you lose your cool, when things don't go according to plan, and when stress feels overwhelming. This is normal. What matters is how you respond to these moments. Instead of beating yourself up for losing your calm, use it as a learning experience. Reflect on what triggered you, and think about how you can approach similar situations differently in the future. This mindset of continuous improvement will help you stay focused on progress, not perfection. Another important element of the discipline of calmness is learning to let go of the need for control. So much of our stress comes from trying to control things that are outside of our influence. Whether it's other people's behavior, the outcome of a situation, or the way the world works, we often expend an incredible amount of energy trying to force things to go our way. But the truth is, control is an illusion. The more tightly you grip onto the need for things to go according to plan, the more frustrated and anxious you become when things inevitably don't. True discipline lies in the ability to let go of this need for control and to accept what is. When you can release your attachment to specific outcomes and embrace the present moment, you free yourself from unnecessary stress. You shift from trying to manipulate the world to simply responding to it with calm, clarity, and acceptance. This doesn't mean you stop taking action or striving for your goals. It means you approach life with an open hand, trusting that whatever happens is part of your journey. To build this level of discipline, you need to practice letting go regularly. It could be something small, like choosing not to get upset when you're stuck in traffic, or something bigger, like accepting that you can't control other people's actions. In these moments, remind yourself that peace comes from within, and that you have the power to choose how you respond. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes to remain calm in the face of adversity. Another important aspect of the discipline of calmness is learning to manage your energy. Your mental state is influenced not just by your thoughts, but also by your physical and emotional energy. If you're running on empty or neglecting your self-care, it becomes much harder to stay calm when things get difficult. Taking care of your body, mind, and spirit is essential for maintaining a sense of balance and peace. This means getting enough rest, eating nourishing food, exercising regularly, and taking time for activities that replenish you. When you're well rested, well nourished, and physically active, you have more mental clarity and emotional resilience. You're better able to handle the stress of everyday life without losing your cool. Make self-care a priority, and recognize that it's not a luxury, it's a necessity for maintaining your inner peace. The discipline of calmness also requires a deep sense of self-awareness. To remain calm in any situation, you need to be aware of your thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations. This awareness allows you to catch yourself before you get carried away by your emotions or impulses. The more in tune you are with yourself, the better you can manage your reactions and maintain your sense of calm. Developing this self-awareness involves taking the time to reflect on your experiences. This could be through journaling, meditation, or simply taking quiet moments throughout the day to check in with yourself. By regularly reflecting on your thoughts and emotions, you gain insight into your patterns and triggers, and you can begin to shift them over time. True mental discipline comes from the recognition that your peace is not dependent on the outside world. It's not about having everything go perfectly or avoiding challenges altogether. It's about developing the ability to remain steady, no matter what. This kind of discipline is empowering because it means you are no longer at the mercy of external circumstances. You are the one in control of how you respond, and that control, in turn, gives you the freedom to live with peace, even in the midst of life's storms. The discipline of calmness is a lifelong practice. There will always be moments of stress and challenge, but with each day you spend cultivating this discipline, you strengthen your ability to navigate those moments with grace and composure. It's a practice that requires patience, persistence, and a deep commitment to your own peace of mind. But as you continue to build this discipline, you'll find that your ability to remain calm in any situation becomes more effortless, more natural, and more powerful. And with that calmness comes a deep sense of freedom, the freedom to live life on your own terms, no matter what challenges come your way. Chapter 15. Never let external events control your inner peace. The events and circumstances around us often feel unpredictable and uncontrollable. People let their emotions dictate their actions, and situations spiral out of control when things don't go as planned. The chaotic nature of life can be overwhelming at times, leaving us feeling powerless, frustrated, and anxious. But through it all, there's a fundamental truth that can serve as the bedrock of our peace. We always have control over how we respond. The one thing that cannot be taken from us is the power to choose our reaction. In this world of uncertainty, it's this ability to maintain our inner peace that will define how we experience life. External events are just that. External. They occur outside of our control and can fluctuate, shift, and change at any given moment. You can't predict what others will say or do, nor can you control the outcomes of many of the things you face. However, the way you respond to these events is entirely within your grasp. The truth is, no matter what happens on the outside, you have the ability to protect your inner peace. It's a matter of perspective and mental training. The world will test your peace. It's inevitable. People will disappoint you, traffic will make you late, plans will go awry, and challenges will arise. But none of these events can dictate your internal state unless you allow them to. Your inner peace is a reflection of your mindset, your ability to remain grounded, and your commitment to staying centered, no matter what life throws your way. And this is where the real work begins, choosing to not let external events control your internal peace. It might be helpful to think of your mind as a calm lake. When you're at peace, the surface is still, reflecting the world in a clear, undisturbed way. But when external events stir up your thoughts, an argument with someone, an unexpected setback at work, or a mistake you made, the water becomes rippled, cloudy. The clarity is lost. What's important to recognize is that the water doesn't need to stay disturbed. It can return to stillness, even in the midst of a storm. All it takes is your ability to pause, to center yourself, and to choose calm. The key to maintaining your inner peace is developing a mindset that doesn't tie your happiness to external circumstances. This is not to say you should ignore the challenges or pretend that they don't affect you. Life is challenging, and it's okay to feel frustrated, sad, or angry when things go wrong. But those emotions are temporary. They don't need to control your long-term peace. It's essential to understand that no matter what happens, your peace comes from how you process those emotions, how you decide to respond, and how you choose to move forward. One of the most powerful tools to protect your peace is the practice of mindfulness. When we practice mindfulness, we train ourselves to be present in the moment, rather than allowing ourselves to be caught up in a mental whirlwind of what-ifs or past regrets. By practicing mindfulness, you can gain distance from the thoughts and emotions that threaten your peace. You recognize them for what they are, temporary, passing feelings, and you learn not to attach your identity to them. Mindfulness doesn't require you to block out or suppress emotions. It's about acknowledging them without letting them take over. If you're feeling upset, frustrated, or anxious, the first step is simply to notice it. You don't have to react to it immediately. Just sit with it. Observe it. Breathe through it. Over time, this practice will help you detach from the emotional reaction and regain your clarity. Another important practice is self-compassion. Often, we're quick to blame ourselves when things don't go right, or we criticize ourselves for not handling situations better. This self-criticism only adds fuel to the fire, escalating the negative emotions and taking us further away from our inner peace. Self-compassion involves treating yourself with the same kindness, understanding, and patience that you would offer to a friend who is going through a tough time. It means recognizing that you are human, that you will make mistakes, and that it's okay not to be perfect. When you let go of the need for perfection, you free yourself from unnecessary pressure. You give yourself the grace to experience emotions without being overwhelmed by them. You stop expecting yourself to be invincible or unaffected by life's challenges. Instead, you give yourself permission to be human, to feel, to process, and to heal at your own pace. In this journey to protect your inner peace, one of the most important realizations is that peace is not a destination, it's a practice. You don't arrive at inner peace and then stop working on it. Peace is something you cultivate each and every day. It's a commitment, a discipline, and an ongoing process. There will always be moments that challenge your peace, but the more you practice returning to a state of calm, the easier it becomes. Over time, you'll find that your natural response to life's challenges is one of steadiness and composure, no matter what happens on the outside. The more you focus on protecting your inner peace, the more you'll find that life has a way of flowing more smoothly. You'll still face challenges, but you'll approach them from a place of strength and clarity. You'll have a better understanding of what truly matters and what is simply a temporary distraction. You'll no longer let the actions of others, the unpredictability of life, or the failures of the past determine your happiness. You'll learn to embrace the present moment, to trust in your own ability to respond thoughtfully, and to let go of the things that are beyond your control. It's also important to recognize that protecting your inner peace doesn't mean avoiding conflict or suppressing difficult emotions. It means having the tools to handle those emotions with resilience and poise. It means having the confidence to face uncomfortable situations and still maintain your composure. And it means knowing that you have the power to choose your response, no matter what the situation is. When external events feel overwhelming, remind yourself of this: you are not defined by what happens around you. Your peace comes from within. It's something that no one can take away from you unless you allow it. Your ability to choose how you respond is a gift. The more you embrace that power, the more you can cultivate a life of lasting peace and freedom. So moving forward, remember that your inner peace is the one thing that no one can control but you. Life will continue to throw challenges your way, but with practice, mindfulness, and self-compassion, you'll be able to face them with strength, clarity, and calm. The world may be unpredictable, but your inner world is yours to command. And as you learn to master that, you'll discover a sense of peace that will carry you through anything life has to offer.